Hello, welcome back. So, Sean, this is, of course, another digital marketing news episode, a weekly one. And looking forward to this one. I've read through some of the stuff we've got lined up. I'm really excited to learn about it myself, to be honest. So I'll bring up the usual slides to support the usual sort of walkthrough. We're not going to do proper introductions. We've got a lot to get through, but there is someone new-ish face here. Not so much to the channel, but to this particular show. So, Chris, you just want to introduce yourself quickly and I'll do the rest.
Yeah. Hey, guys. Thank you for having me on. So my name is Christian. I'm head of AI search and SEO at Sozo Digital Agency.
Yeah. And we've got an actual individual chat coming out soon, just me and Christian. So watch out for that one. And we've got, like, as usual, we'll go through the top stories and top videos, and I'll show clips as usual and top socials. So, yeah. Let's get onto it first. Top stories. Amanda.
Sure. So this one follows on from last week when we were talking about Airbnb and their increased conversion rate on ChatGPT. But actually, there was an article that was published in Search Engine Land yesterday that was a study that had been done by a company called Visibility Labs from January to December 2025. It was GA4 analysis. And it essentially said that ChatGPT e-commerce traffic converts 31% higher than standard non-branded organic search. So I thought that was really interesting. Some of the information that came out of the study, so they said that ChatGPT sourced e-commerce traffic converted at 1.81%. So that's about 31% higher than their non-branded organic search. The study was 1.39%. The referral sessions obviously had grown substantially to, they'd grown about 1,000% compared to 70% growth for non-branded traffic. But the average order value was lower. So that was interesting. So it was around $204 versus $238. They then did go to kind of caveat and say, like, despite the stronger conversion rates, ChatGPT traffic contributed to only around 1.5% of the revenue generated overall. And that increased to around 2.2% later in the year. But I just thought it was really, really interesting. I mean, what we're seeing from a lot of companies is this feedback that ChatGPT traffic is converting really, really well, which I find interesting because I've always seen ChatGPT as, a very conversational platform versus Google being a little bit more high intent. But it's interesting to see that the data is showcasing that that's the case, even if it's a small percentage now. I guess if it continues to grow, then it's going to become a very real, opportunity for a lot of people.
Yeah. The thing is like we get, because I do these news episodes, you get so many mixed messages. Like the thing is that I've seen throughout, there's always, this is good, this is bad. And there's like this argument. It's clearly like sometimes it'd be good for someone and sometimes it'd be bad for another person. That's just like life. So I think like when you get shot down, say, oh, ChatGPT ain't going to do this, or it's like, it depends. I know it's like the usual SEO thing, but it really does depend. I think it does make sense. Like you think about it, like, I think a lot of people go to platforms like ChatGPT to do a comparison for products and, to try and find the right one. I think it makes a lot of sense to me.
This one came up first. I had quite a bit of beef with this article when I was reading it, because I think articles I think you touched on it, Sean, earlier, but articles like this can be really misleading for brands. Mm-hmm. If you read the content of the article, it's, it's very much like, oh, just 1.5%, small share, emerging channel. And the key standout for me is like this article is all based around a 12-month study on GA4 click attribution. Mm-hmm. And I speak a lot with clients and with colleagues about this. Like, it's very much like if you measure the success of social and say Meta, for example, based on GA4, you're always going to get a very underwhelming picture. And Amanda, you mentioned earlier, it's a very conversational sort of part of the user journey. Users are not typically clicking on the citations in ChatGPT, looking for answers. I think we've got to be very careful how we interpret this kind of data. And brands, because I think brands could read studies like this and be like, oh, we don't need to invest in our presence in AI search GPT, like it's only 1.5%. But that's based on people clicking through to a website. And that's not a typical user behavior. So I think it's always going to, even if more people start using AI, I think always going to report as like a minority if you measure it based on click attribution in GA4. So we just got to be very careful how we interpret the data.
And I suppose like anything from that way is probably quite heavily underrepresented. I think kind of in fairness to them, they did mention that, the standard attribution models may underreport AI's impact because users often research in ChatGPT before converting through branded search. So I think they have tried to caveat that narrative, but I think that's a really good point in terms of, I think it's really, really hard to attribute the role that ChatGPT and those kind of, that they play in the funnel, because how much time do we spend on ChatGPT? And there's a really good article I was reading yesterday that was saying a lot of us go onto ChatGPT and then we come back through a branded search, and it's the branded search then that's getting all the credit for that. Whereas realistic, before we get to that branded search, we've done all of that research on ChatGPT to understand, actually, like, which brand should I choose? Oh, it's this brand. Okay. I'll now go and search for that brand, potentially on Google. It comes through as a branded search, and ChatGPT doesn't even get seen in that part of the funnel. So I think that's a really good, and we definitely need to consider that from an attribution perspective as well.
Yeah. I think that's the thing I've had when Rand Fishkin was on. He was saying something similar about how, the way we measure things is a bit not always fair, because Facebook and Google, for example, like you say, are picking up sort of all the low-hanging fruit, where all the other parts of the marketing side of it has done a lot of the heavy lifting to get brand awareness and sending out messages and stuff, and then they're just doing that like conversion part, and then that's what it looks like on GA and all that they've done all these conversions. But obviously they need to do that sort of part to it sometimes, but it's a bit misleading if you look at it just from that standpoint. Yeah, interesting. And Stan, what about yourself?
My story is again about Perplexity. So like last week I had a story about Perplexity. I continue with this trend. I don't know if you noticed, but they just introduced new product or feature called Perplexity Computer. It's basically like platform which orchestrate like 19 AI models across multiple tasks. It includes models like Claude, Opus, Gemini, ChatGPT, Grok, Nano Banana, Vio, and can help you like with personal task or professional task, SEO, or like whatever you need help with. It's like basically, I think the process is like to having like different agents already built in, that you don't need to build them by yourself, but they're already built in this like Perplexity Computer. But only one downfall is now that is only available for Perplexity Max subscriptions. So not everybody can try it, but maybe that just like follow up what we've been talking about like last week, when I said that they are gonna to drop with the ads because they have enough revenue coming from different sources, like from subscriptions mainly. And now they're like, oh, but we have this product, but you can use it only if you are Max subscriptioner, So maybe that's their like way how to get more revenue, So I like this approach more, to be honest, than like with ChatGPT ads.
Yeah, I think that sounds really cool. I want to try it for sure. on my side, I might as well mention it now, but I don't know if you've seen like the first sort of illustrations of the ChatGPT adverts in the wild, but people are saying they're quite aggressive, and many people thought they were going to be like, within the conversation when you start going. But it seems like they're already there on the first prompts, and they're quite large and they're quite in your face sort of thing, which I think people are a bit put off by, because I think people thought it's going to be a bit more like once you start going into the conversation. So yeah, it's going to be interesting how these companies are approaching it.
It's a funny one with the ChatGPT ads. You read some of the latest articles this week on it, and it's reporting that, it's really early days, right? But both for a brand and for a PPC specialist, like if you've got a brand coming to a PPC specialist or an agency saying, look, we want to like trial ChatGPT ads, like, should we be doing it? I mean, from some of the news articles coming out this week, it's suggesting that ChatGPT ads are like 3 times more expensive than Meta. And from an advertiser, from a specialist overseeing and managing that for a brand, they've only got very top level stats around like clicks and impressions on the ads. I was thinking about this, like, sadly, on the school run today in the car. I was thinking, like, if I start running ChatGPT ads, even as an experiment for a brand, can you imagine like me sitting in the pitch right now and being like, yeah, let's give it a go. But hey, by the way, it's going to cost you 3 times as much as Meta to run this experiment. Oh, and by the way, I'm only going to be able to give you insights on clicks and impressions. I'm not going to be able to tell you like how it's impacting conversion. And I've got very limited means as to how to like optimize and run it. Like I was thinking about, like when we run Google ads, you've got like an MCC account and you've got loads of like different data and insights and means of like optimizing the targeting for your brand. And I was thinking, like, we're just starting to see some of the ChatGPT ads like coming out for users on the free and the Go tiers in the US. But as an advertiser, like, where do I feel confident with OpenAI to actually pitch this and start encouraging, like, if I'm working with US brands, like, what is ChatGPT giving me to persuade my clients to like try this out when it's 3 times as expensive as Meta, and I've got very limited reporting or means to actually optimize it? So I'm feeling quite skeptical at the moment about the ChatGPT ad rollout, if I'm honest.
Honestly, like, I'm skeptical since they like announce it, and especially because it's not pay per click, but pay per view. That's why it's even 3 times more expensive, or like maybe even more. And I saw the stories Sean has prepared. So like probably we should let him first talk about his story, and then we can continue on this topic, because I have also some insights to add to it.
No, like I was going to say as well, like, and that's the thing that we've shown, the studies come out from Spark Tour and stuff about the majority of people that use ChatGPT also then go onto Google anyway. So it's not like they've got their own sort of like market they've, carved out. It's the same sort of people that are going on both. And also, like, with this video I'm about to launch with Eli, the second part, he said some really good stuff as usual. He's just saying how like he thinks the dark horse in all this is Meta, because Google have all really great infrastructure. They're gonna definitely win like the search side of it. But Meta also, who has there's only 2 people he thinks actually has a really good sort of ad infrastructure. That's Google, obviously, and Meta, because they've got Facebook and Instagram and WhatsApp and so on. And if they really want to go to town and do this properly, they've got the infrastructure to do that. And he thinks they're going to be the ones to really kind of go big on it, and probably also win, like, we're along with Google. Man, do you have anything to add? Then I will just cover my...
I find the whole ChatGPT ads conversation really, really interesting. I think I just think we need to see a lot more of it in practice before any kind of decisions are made. And maybe we are already an absolute nightmare. I think I said this last week as well. We're trying to contend with ads and AI overviews for Google because it's going to move to broad match rather than traditional match types. And I know that ChatGPT ads have already indicated that they want to use a similar principle. So they want to use a similar way of targeting. Now, for the majority of advertisers, especially in the B2B and B2C, we are already at the limit of kind of what is a workable cost per lead and what is a workable cost per acquisition for most of our clients because of the bazillion overheads that we have. Things are getting more expensive, stuff getting more expensive, et cetera, et cetera. So I think to introduce something that is a broad targeting model from an advertising perspective like ChatGPT ads, whilst we're also trying to combat a broad targeting model on Google Ads, is going to completely change the way that we have to advertise for the brands that we work with. And I think it's going to be a real headache, if I'm being honest, because for a lot of these brands, brands have become dependent on advertising, right? So previously, brands were a lot more reliant on SEO. Now, in the world of AI, we're finding a lot of our clients become more reliant on Google advertising. Some brands are wholly reliant on Google advertising. And so when that clientele starts shifting to ChatGPT, yes, of course, they're going to have to start looking at what the opportunities there are as well. But if the only opportunities that are presented to them are broad across both platforms, then that's a fundamental change of the way that you approach advertising. And I think that is what is going to be the consideration in all of this over the next 6 months.
Yeah, it seems like I just find it crazy. Like you got so much money, OpenAI. Well, they kind of have money. It's kind of like borrowed money, but they have some sort of finance, and this is like the best model they could come out with all those potential experts that work there. One thing I will put in the show notes, and obviously all the links are in the description. You can go and check all those out. But there's this one website, and I won't be able to go through it, but I'm going to do some LinkedIn posts about it. Try and keep it up to date because I find it great. It's a great resource. Hrevs have put together this website called ChatGPT versus Google.com. And you can literally see all the differences. They break it down by a geographic area, by all sorts of different breakdowns of like the traffic and stuff. And it's a great resource. And like I say, I'm going to go further into it in some posts that I'll send out. Chris, you look like you got something to say.
I was just going to add, it just feels rushed from OpenAI. I think they've got to be really careful. I work a lot with small to medium enterprise, and as it stands, like I'd find it really challenging to get buy-in from those kind of clients. Clients that don't have like an infinite resource of advertising spend, who need to see some kind of return. I think it's generally can be quite difficult with SMEs to get buy-in for any kind of like cost per view model over cost per click. I think with ChatGPT, if you were a specialist and you're going to a brand and saying, right, we've spent X amount, on your ChatGPT experimental ads, they're looking to be like 3 times more expensive than Meta, and, might not necessarily got many clicks, might have just got like impressions on some ads, and you can't actually then report on like conversions or return. So I just think it's like for me, I'm not like jumping on it. If any clients say to me like, oh, what are you doing at the moment with ChatGPT ads? I'm like, nothing. Like I'm literally I'm looking for case studies. We've seen quite a few screenshots with like the Expedia example in the travel sector. I'd really love to see some case studies from these brands in the US that are experimenting with ChatGPT and how it measures and compares across other paid channels. It'd be interesting to see if and when these kind of case studies start to roll out.
I mean, all I can expect is like these companies have got some, budget they're not that bothered about. They just want the experimental budget, and they can just throw it at whatever and see what sticks. And it will be interesting when that data comes out if they release. So my main story was a very interesting one, actually. It's on marketingweek.com, and it was all around MoneySupermarket. And they've launched a UK first ChatGPT app that lets users access comparison services, like we all know, like car insurance and broadband deals and that kind of thing, directly within ChatGPT. So positioning itself early in like this AI-driven world that we're living in. And alongside this integration, the business is like facing, as we all know, like PPC costs are, going up. So it's trying to shift its strategy towards loyalty and membership-led growth. They got this Super Saver Club, you've probably seen the adverts if you live in the UK, and they're investing more in social and brand marketing, which obviously a lot of people are talking about trying to do. So yeah, and rolling out this new AI-enabled product like Price Optimizer and Savings by MoneySupermarket as part of a broader tech and data investment push. And I just think really interesting I can see more of these things happening, I can see more sort of larger companies and collection of companies maybe coming together and building these sort of functionalities directly through these models, because that's really going to be the only way to compete. Because if people are going to get, like, you think about it, if they didn't do this, people would just go directly to ChatGPT or whatever, Gemini, and say because they're going to know everything about you in the future. They'll be able to read your Gmail and everything. So they'll be like, this is your car. We know what your car is. We know when you need to renew it. These are the best offers for you. It's going to be very personalized and that kind of thing. So I think this is like their only kind of way to compete in a way. But yeah, I thought it was a good case study, what they're doing.
It's a great idea, isn't it? I mean, just getting ahead of the curve. And I think they very rightly pointed out, probably to the point that I made before, the challenges of paid media advertising at the minute and how everything is getting more and more expensive, and all it's doing is squeezing margins. So, do they move to a retention model? I don't know how effective it's going to be, because I think people now are in such a habit of shopping around for those types of things that I don't know how easy it is for those companies to have retention when people are shopping. But then I guess, like, I get emails from some of them and, they automatically, they obviously have my data stored, so they know like when my car insurance is due for renewal, and they automatically send me new quotes. But I'll still shop around to have a look, because car insurance changes every year, right? Quite dramatically. So I do think it's a great idea. I don't know if it'll fully caveat the challenges that they're going to be facing in that sector in terms of competition and pricing, but at least they're trying to do something about it, right?
Yeah, and some companies purposely don't go on these comparison sites. So I guess using AI models, you might be able to surface some of those as well, that, they can compare everything, not just the ones on this particular comparison, setup. But yeah, I just thought it was interesting. I think there's been a bit off topic, but Guardian and a bunch of other publishers, I don't think you've seen this, have created like a coalition to basically fight against a sort of AI stuff that's going on in their world, in the news publishing world. And yeah, the Guardian kind of put out a message about that. So that there's going to be a lot of this sort of, integrations and coalitions and ways to try and compete in this AI world, or at least protect what they're doing already, which I think would be interesting.
Just on that compare the market example, I mean, it will be interesting to see what new kind of innovations like that come out over the next year. We've been working a lot with Claude Code and experimenting with the capabilities of that. And, that's like big in our industry at the moment. You've got lots of marketers that now, who previously were limited by, requiring developer involvement. Marketers now, through like Vibe Code and Claude Code, can effectively build these kind of applications. The only limitation is like their vision. So I think it'll be fascinating to see what sort of more innovations like come out from these brands and from individuals over the next year. With the compare the market example, I mean, even though I use AI a lot for search and in my day-to-day, there's still certain things that I will go to a website to, like with compare the market. Like if I'm comparing like travel insurance, for example, I'm aware that compare the market tap directly into the sort of API and the data of all the different options. So I kind of trust the accuracy of the data and the figures. I wouldn't necessarily like compare for travel insurance like within AI, because I'm aware of AI making mistakes and hallucinating and fabricating certain insights. I guess within the industry, I have that awareness of how AI can behave it'll be interesting to see if more and more people like use AI rather than going, say, to the like compare the market and comparing through the website. It'll be interesting to see how that wider public adoption takes hold over time.
Yeah, I guess you're hoping that there's that brand recognition and people still trust it because it's still your brand. You're just going through that channel, but we'll see. Yeah, no one knows how this is going to play out. So top videos, Amanda, what was your one for this week?
Sure. So mine is actually a roundup from PPC Live Online 19. So for those of you that don't know, PPC Live is a brilliant kind of like webinar series. They do an online and an offline in-person conference presentation as well. And they basically get a lot of PPC speakers together to talk about topics that are trending, can't leave my voice, and relevant in the industry. And they recently had their 19th edition. And it's just a really nice way to kind of keep up to date with what's going on in the world of PPC. So they had Kat Sale talking about like finding joy in paid media to keep your job and grow, sort of like practical ways to keep the love for your work, not stagnate and grow. They had Dave Alexander talking about why lost leads are a good thing. So looking at like lead gen and how you actually use that, the data, and identify target opportunities. And then they had Niels Ruijmans talking about scripts for e-commerce. So things like automating scripts for performance packs and standard shopping. And then they finished with a live Q&A. It's an hour. So they're like kind of short, snappy talks. And I just love this kind of content because I think if you're trying to, my staff ask me all the time, like, how do I upskill? Like, where do I go? You know, what webinars are going on? What can I do online to kind of keep myself up to date? This is like an hour. You get 3 great talks. You get a Q&A at the end. It's just a really cool event.
I think with PPC, like if you work in SEO, like that's your focus. You're still kind of interested in what's going on in the other side of the pond, but you just don't have time. So like, there's enough going on in SEO. So things like that, I'm going to watch it to try and get myself up to speed because you do need to know this stuff for sure.
I think it'll become more and more important as we see this switch to AI as well, and we're starting to see all the channels become a little bit closer together. I think just having a knowledge of what's going on is going to play a role.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, yeah,
Well,
definitely more than
Go
ever.
first. Yeah, I think it's very important, especially if you work in-house for like some B2B SaaS companies or something like that, that department of PPC and SEO work closely together. Because, for example, for some pages, you want to do strategy for some product pages, but you don't know if they're going to work. So it's maybe better on the beginning, put a placement on them like for PPCs, for ads, see if they convert. If they convert, okay, let's start like building links or whatever. So we rank higher with all these pages. And I think that's when so many companies or like even marketing teams forget about that PPC's department or like person should be connected with SEO person, and they should like kind of collaborate on monthly task or things. Yeah.
Yeah, and we can't keep moaning about paid and not know what the hell's going on there, which, you know, SEO is kind of renowned for.
So today I'm not going to go into the details, but I'm going to explain it in light of the setup that I like to use for clients that need an increase in short-term profitability. It's what I like to call the gatekeeper architecture. So if you insert all your products in a single shopping campaign or a single Performance Max campaign, Google will try to match them to relevant user queries, but you do not have control over what queries they were shown for. Of course, you can always add negatives after the fact, but Google first tries to match a product to a completely random query, and if you allow it to place a high bid for that specific user query, it might do so. But the user query might be completely irrelevant, and there is no way for you to prevent Google from placing that high bid in the first time, unless you use a structure like this. So we're just going to pretend that we have only a single product for now. There's only one single product. The blue boxes are standard shopping campaigns. There's one with a high priority, I call it the gatekeeper, and there is one with a medium or a low priority, I call it the moneymaker. Both campaigns hold the same product. If the rest of the targeting settings would be completely the same, and I would be enabling both campaigns at the same time, the high priority campaign would always show, right? So if there's a relevant user query for this product, Google will simply let the high priority campaign place the bid. But if I've excluded this specific user query from the high priority campaign via a negative keyword, then that campaign is not allowed to show the ad. So Google thinks, okay, I cannot use the high priority campaign to show this product, but the medium priority campaign still allows me to show it because this user query is not negated in the medium priority campaign. And the medium priority campaign has a high bid, whereas the high priority campaign has a low bid. So what will happen now is that for all the user queries that I've added as a negative to the high priority campaign, they will be funneled to the medium priority campaign, where I allow Google to place a high bid. But all the user queries that have not been negated in the high priority campaign will be matched to the high priority campaign, and there I only allow Google to place a very low bid. So that's a relatively easy way to prevent Google from spending a lot of money on user queries that have unpredicted conversion value.
But yeah, Stan, what was your video this week?
My video is from WisprFlow. I don't know if any of you heard about WisprFlow before. That application is like software. I heard first time about it from Stephen Bartlett, the Diary of CEO guy. He mentioned it on his vlogs. It's basically AI voice dictation app, and they said that it's the most accurate app on the market. You can use it through your computer or on your phone. You just like dictate it and it's write down all the things. But right now it was available only for Mac users and Apple users. So, but they did like launch it on Android, and they did a funny video. They were like, okay, we offer 5 people a Porsche if they can get WisprFlow to make a mistake. And it's like 5 people testing in different environments, and not all made a mistake, obviously. But it's a really funny video, as I always go with funny videos, for this show. So it's interesting to watch it. But the most important was the announcement that they're launching it on Android. Because since I first heard about it, I really wanted to try it, but I'm Android guy and Windows user. So yeah, I was super excited when I saw it that they're launching for Android as well. So yeah, that's my video for this week.
Yeah, I have heard of that tool before. What's the main thing about it? So it kind of, you kind of speak into it in notes, everything you said. Is that kind of the main thing?
It's like dictation, like before people was using, to record some notes for yourself, but like apparently it's like the most accurate one in the market right now. So yeah, that's why I'm like curious to try it, because you can see all this video and like people saying, yes, it's the most accurate one, but like you need to try it first to believe.
Yeah, no, I mean, I've been looking for something like that. So that's pretty sweet.
But the funny thing is, and also good thing is that you can use it on both, on your computer and on your phone as well. Like on computer, you can just set one button which you hold and you speak, and it makes the notes for you, like completely whatever you say. And it's AI powered, so like it might have some more features. So yeah.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be helpful.
We're giving away a Porsche 911 GT3 RS, and all you have to do is beat an AI app. We found 5 people who think they can beat WisprFlow, the #1 voice dictation app ever built. So let's see if they actually can.
Hey, let's do it. Actually 9. Wait, no, 10 p.m. And oh my god, bring Kelsey. I literally miss her so much. Heart emoji.
Wait, that's low-key impressive.
It's gonna be hard to beat. Hey, I'm in a meeting right now. Can you do these 3 things? Make sure you send a proposal. Tell Kyle he still hasn't sent an invoice. And tell the team that stand-up has been pushed until 3. Well, I got everything right. Dude, that was a good try.
Can you take a look at the HUD TSX and add a new function called validate user token that takes in a token string and returns a boolean? Whoa, did this have an API?
It's good, right?
I'm that nigga, I'm in my zone. Microphone to my phone, I own the tone. Wordplay electric, my flow so addictive. Every bar I spit is a lyrical lecture. Fuck, bro. Got everything.
can get tacos on the way back. And कार से मेरा चार्जर भी ले आना and coffee भी ले आना please. मैं बहुत थक गई हूँ.
And also your baby didn't wake up.
Full disclosure, my team told me not to do this. But with our new model, I was feeling pretty confident. It's not just 3 times more accurate than ChatGPT or Siri. It's actually more accurate than any human using it. If you manually type out your text, you're going to make a lot more mistakes than if you just speak it with WisprFlow. Once you try it, there's honestly no going back.
And to some to my video, my one, first of all, I have, I've got to throw in these humanoid robot stuff. I'm addicted to this, watching this kind of thing. And they had this whole show in China, their Spring Festival Gala. And basically, I can't even describe this without it sounding mental, and you have to watch it. But this actually happened. There was humanoid robots dancing around the stage, very impressive, like doing all sorts of moves. And then they get out swords and stuff, and then little kids start dancing around them, and they're swinging all swords and stuff around them. And doing this show is absolutely crazy. I don't think you'll get signed off on that on health and safety in the UK, but in China, apparently you can do that. It is impressive, but it was very, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't put my kid on the stage to do that, but there you go.
I mean, gosh, imagine the length of the risk assessment document in the UK to get that one over the line.
I don't think it would. They did we even let the humanoid robot on, let alone the kids with the swords and everything like that. Second of all was like a really good webinar with Sightbulb, and it was Dan Petrovic and Jess Schultz, who's obviously been on the show before. Really, really good webinar. They're so intelligent, both of them. And it was just about optimizing for AI citations. So, they're both, Dan brings out some great blogs about the topic, and Jess obviously is great direct approach and says how it is. So, definitely check it out. Sightbulb, they do some really great webinars quite often. So, definitely sign up for those to hear more.
And then went with the word budget. I guess it's familiar. So grounding budget, let's call it. Let's roll with it. So if you have a 1,000 word article, larger portion of your article will go into grounding. If you have a 10,000 word article, smaller portion of that article will go into grounding, because Google has a fixed number of tokens it's allowed to ground each ranking result with. And so, like, if you have a tiny little article, 100% of it will go into grounding. But I'm not advising that people necessarily write ultra short things, because Google does have a fairly robust snippet building system. They use extractive summarization to pluck the most relevant bits to the prompt or to the query. So there's been discussion around this, and they said if you have a very large content, well, cluster it all together. That's not really the solution, because I've seen in the behavior of Google's pre-processing pipeline, I've seen them pluck from random parts of the page. So one thing is for you to do nothing and just measure what's happening in the AI search to see if you are misrepresented, and act on it only if you have a problem. If Google speaks to your brand and product and represents you well, then there's no problem. If you're happy with the way your text is structured, and there's no problem with it, I wouldn't go and change everything and summarize and condense everything. Now, at the same time, I did a study about how users read. And so I tricked everybody, basically. I had a script in the background that records your mouse movements and clicks and scrolls and everything. It was just simple JavaScript, still up there. And I had a survey on, and I said, are you a reader or are you a skimmer? Right. And people will declare themselves and then proceed to read that page that is on where the poll itself is. And guess what? They all spend about 2 minutes. Somebody would say, I'm a reader. I read everything word for word. No, they don't. They said they do. So
before we move on, Christian, was there any videos?
Yeah, there is, Sean. When I was doing the dishes last night, I had my laptop on the side, and just generally on YouTube, just looking at Claude code for SEO. I mentioned earlier, it's big in the industry and all the capabilities that marketers can achieve with Claude code. So just for awareness, and there was a video from he's called the Boring Marketing Guy out in the US, and it was an interesting one. He was saying he's not like a developer by nature, but through Claude code and for SEO, he's able to basically he's been building websites, for like small one-man bands, like a plumber or like an electrician, for small businesses and one-man bands. He's been sort of using the likes of Claude code to push out websites really quickly and efficiently that are built with like SEO from the ground up. And it's just really interesting now, the capabilities of AI that means that you can do things quickly and more efficiently. And it kind of opens up possibility again for small businesses. And he made the really valid point that, for a lot of small businesses, like an electrician or a plumber, if they do have websites, they're typically really bad and haven't been updated in years and are usually quite poorly optimized for SEO. So there's actually like a lot of opportunity in that small business space to rank really well and position really well in search. Now using the capability, you might not have done this even a year ago with having to kind of code and build websites manually, but it's just fascinating with the likes of Claude Code now. You've got marketers with no dev or code experience that are now able to build and launch websites really efficiently and have all of that previous stuff that you would need to lean heavily on devs for like technical SEO audits. Marketers can now leverage the likes of ChatGPT and Claude code to just start doing some incredible things. And I think we're only just in the industry, like scratching the surface. So I think there's going to be a lot more this year coming out around that.
Yeah. Like you said before, I think the only thing limiting you is your imagination. Like I think anything you can actually think about, you can do now. I think this is the thing, we're kind of at a good point with AI where it gives us that kind of freedom and that sort of innovation possibilities. But obviously if it keeps on continuing to advance and then we're kind of irrelevant, then it could do it on its own, then it's kind of that's the next level. But yeah, at this stage, I think it's just about making sure you're kind of speeding up all the other processes that were taking up your time. So you've got more time to think about things to innovate and to create and stuff. That's the sweet kind of spot, I guess, in it all.
Yeah, I think we're moving to a world eventually where most people one day will be using AI to some degree. So it will kind of level the playing field. So I think the brands and the individuals that win are the ones that have the vision, the innovation. When everyone's using AI in whatever context it is, it then becomes about who's got the best idea, who's got the strongest vision to leverage AI in the right and most powerful way.
So I'll do a quick tour around the website real quick and just kind of show you the structure and what I was able to do. So, you have kind of like your basic homepage. We've got some nice little like illustrations and things like that. We've got like, a bunch of clickable items that take you into like individual services and all of that stuff. We've got all these different location pages and, we have some other like SEO optimizations on the website. Like all these handy internal links and stuff like that. So if you look at some of these pages, I have like a huge amount of detail on all of these about each individual location. I've got like landmarks and, unique information about these locations that we can service and things along those lines. Now, an SEO agency or a digital marketing agency would charge you an arm and a leg to go and like build out a website, create 50 plus pages, optimize the entire thing so that it'll rank for the keywords that are relevant to your company. Using Claude Code, I was able to do all of this in a matter of hours.
Top social. So before you have to pop off, Amanda, what's your top social this week?
Yes, so this is from Stephen Adams, and it was actually a discussion around customer loyalty, and in particular, he was talking about an experience he'd had with M&S. And I think this is critical, right? Because, earlier today we've discussed, it was MoneySupermarket that did the ChatGPT feature and how they've said, it's getting really expensive to get new customers. So we're really going to focus on retention and we're really going to focus on how we kind of build up that customer base. So Stephen gave an example of something that happened. So basically, he bought a shirt online. He needed it for a meeting on Tuesday. I said it'd be delivered by Monday, and Monday at 6 p.m. it actually hadn't showed up. So he was like, I need this for Tuesday. What am I going to do? Anyway, he called M&S. He said he got through in 4 minutes to the customer service team. The agent said, I can see it's delayed. I'll give you a full refund. I'll send a replacement on next day delivery. You'll have it tomorrow by 1 p.m. Like, no argument, no, let's see what happened. No, like, we'll fix the current. They just fixed it. The shirt arrived on Tuesday at 11:20 a.m. The original delivery turned up on Wednesday, called to return it, and they basically said, don't worry about it, keep both shirts, our mistake. And basically what he was saying is, it's a £90 gesture over a £45 problem, but realistically, what they understood is that the cost of losing him as a customer is like way higher than the two shirts. He was saying, I spent $3,000 plus at M&S in the last year. I'll spend another $3,000 this year because I have that confidence that when something goes wrong, they're going to fix it without making me work for it. And he was basically saying, this is a big thing from a customer service perspective. And I found this really interesting because there was a brand, and I won't name who it is, that I might want to work with them one day, and I don't want them to come after me. Slow cooker, and it's not before Christmas, and I needed it for Christmas because there were a lot of people around. And the slow cooker rocked up, and it was badly damaged. And I mean, badly damaged. Right? It'd obviously been damaged to the packaging. So I called the customer support team, who were very good, right? Don't get me wrong. But when I got through to them, they basically said, okay, well, before we'll send you a replacement, you need to return it, and we need to check it in the warehouse, and then we'll send you a replacement. And I was like, I need it quicker than that. Like that, I can't go through that process. Secondly, I don't know if you've ever tried to return a large item to a petrol station, right? But they're not having a bar of it. So trying to return this item was an absolute nightmare. There was only like one drop-off point I had. It was like an Asda Express at my local petrol station. And they looked at me with this huge box and were basically like, there's no way we're taking that. So, and it ended up that my partner had to drive it all the way into town, like 30 minutes away to a large Asda to essentially return. We haven't purchased it from Asda, by the way. This large, it's a huge slow cooker. And then they waited until it went back to the warehouse to check that they were happy with it before they would then dispatch our next slow cooker. It took over a week. And I was furious. I was like, this is ridiculous. Like, you sent us a faulty product, it's been damaged. We needed it urgently. I've had to wait a week, for it to be replaced. My partner said, drive 30 minutes to return it. We'll never shop there again. Like, they're completely ruled it. And I had bought a lot of stuff from there in the past. So this LinkedIn post really resonated with me because I just thought, yeah, you know what? Like, for the sake of 45 quid, delivered what that person needs, and not delivering it, I think is hugely damaging. So yeah, I'd be really interested to hear what you guys think about that. But I just think customer loyalty is something that, we've been so focused on AI and we've been so focused on acquisition for such a long period of time, but realistically, like, that is where the money is now.
I think it's a really important point, Amanda. We've been working a lot with brands on the measurement of their visibility and brand sentiment in AI search. And, there's a lot on LinkedIn about, how to increase your visibility in AI search. And I've been working a lot with brands on, actually, it's not just looking at visibility, it's looking at what AI understands about your brand and how it communicates. And we've been working with some brands where they might have some negative sentiment that crops up in ChatGPT because they've had like a 1 or a 3-star review in Trustpilot. And we've been working with brands to go like, guys, your sales team need to be like really attentive to this. Like if there's a complaining customer, you get brands going, well, how do we get more from search? How do we get more conversion rate? How do we boost our average order value? And it's like, often the first thing they'll go to is like visibility, more traffic, more volume, more ranking. It's like, and they might be sitting on an absolute treasure trove with like their brand sentiment, where like one of the most actionable things is, how do you actually like get your sales team to be more proactive and attentive to the customers with friction points? Because there you can unlock more trust, you can unlock more conversion rates. I really agree what you said, Amanda, about like looking not just at like the individual customer and the purchase, but not that scenario, but the lifetime value and the trust that come with it.
Not only in this environment, like even for me in B2B SaaS, like you can see to having like really strong, fast customer support is very important. If you even go through like reviews and reviewing your competitors, you always see like the most important review or feedback is like, oh, they have like strong customer support, really fast responses and all these things. So like, I think it's very important in everything to have like strong and reliable customer support,
Yeah, and this is a problem. I've dealt with a few because I've had a bit of a moment with my car recently, and I've had to ring up loads of different people about it. And some of them are clearly just AI, and then when you're trying to get through to talk to someone, it's an absolute nightmare. I'm sure we've all been there. And I just want to talk to someone, and it does put you off. Like, doesn't put you in a wrong state of mind. And yeah, I think it's just it's always been the case, but now more than ever, there's so much choice and there's so many ways to discover new options that, like you say, you've already got that customer. They've already kind of invested and chose you. Why you wouldn't make the effort to try and keep them happy is pretty silly to me. And, that kind of, we see it even, like one thing that really annoys me is when you see a brand that you've been with for years and you've got like nothing from it in terms of rewards, and then they're like, new users get like this shiny new car and 10 grand or something. What am I? I've been with you for 20 years. What am I getting? And also like, like even the SEO tools. I'm not going to name names like Amanda, but we know like in this field,
Sure, name names.
Oh, you'll know when I start talking about it. But there's certain tools that have been adding new features and stuff, and then not like giving access to people that have been with the tool for, say, like 10 years or 5 years, but then making them pay like stupid amount of money to add it on, not without any like real discount or anything. I think that's like, with so much choice now, we can even go and build our own tools. Why would you kind of be even messing around with that? You've got this customer base, this user base, and there's only so many people that are going to use those tools as well. Yeah, interesting. Stan, what was yours?
My social again from Twitter X, and it's from Dylan Babs, who is a founder of Profound. So like if any of you user of Profound, you already heard about this announcement, but they just raised 97 million in Series C at a 1 billion valuation, which I think it's huge for them, especially since they start only 18 months ago. So there was no Profound 18 months ago, and now they're like raising 96 millions in Series C already. And it's funny where they're moving from, because like I started using Profound January, like a few months ago, in December, I think. But it was mostly about like tracking your AI visibility and all these things. But now they want to move and go more like to having profound agents, profound university. So like basically what AirOps, if you heard about AirOps, is doing, and they're like kind of copying their way. I don't want to put this statement this way, but it looks like they're going to copy it this way. With this amount of money they raise, they might be successful, but like, let's see. But yeah, it's interesting. It's funny how 18 months nowadays you can become very big brand, like big software to go on the market and compete.
Yeah, I mean, we're looking at Profound ourselves, and I was actually discussing really like Profound versus AirOps and that kind of discussion that you just said. So yeah, very, very interesting how it all plays out. But yeah, they can't deny it. They've done some incredible stuff. They've hired some really good people. And I think the thing is like they've used the momentum they've had and kept building on it and not slowed down. And that's obviously the key where any way of walk of life, in sport. When you've got that momentum, that's when you start building on it. You don't let it slip. Christian, do you have something to say or finish off?
I was just going to mention over the last week, Lily Ray called Google out on noticing AI overviews that were showing without any citations. And Google were quite quick to respond and claim that it was a bug that they're working very quickly to fix. I just think it's interesting sometimes how these things roll. You think about the scale of Google and the infrastructure they've got, the amount of people and the team, and you think, has this really rolled out as a bug, a mistake? It's quite a fundamental thing to have no citations in AI overviews. So, the skeptics within the industry, myself included, just wonder, is this something that Google are trialing? I can't see it rolling out, but good on Lily Ray to call this stuff out and to make Google think twice. It is just a bit of an A/B test experiment. Just causes more uproar, doesn't it? We're already, as like many brands, are losing traffic and clicks to their websites because of AI overviews. It's made things a lot more challenging in the industry. So the last thing we want to be then seeing is information extracted from publishers with an absence of credit and citation. It doesn't help Google gaining back trust from the industry.
I'm just going to... Sorry.
Yeah, no problem. Cheers, Amanda. Speak soon. I wasn't aware of that, but yeah, it does. Like you say, I am a skeptic as well. I always question things like this when they say that, because it happens too frequently. It could, it does make you question it. Hopefully that's not the case, obviously, but we do know they want to keep people on their ecosystem, and obviously linking out does obviously kind of get people away from their ecosystem that they're trying to create. So interesting, but let's hope it is a bug. But yeah, I mean, lastly for me was just Chris Long, who he probably should be paying me by now because the amount of times I mention him on this channel. And he won't even reply to come on the show. So if you're listening, Chris, then at least do that for me. But yeah, Chris Long, he had a really good LinkedIn post about basically just some regex that he uses on Search Console, and obviously you'll be able to find this in the show notes. But it's basically just looking at he was saying basically when he's been going through client Search Console data, he's been seeing more and more instances of longer form queries getting populated. I'm sure we all have, but in fact, across most of the properties I look at, impressions for these type of queries have steadily risen the past 3 months. So basically, yeah, you just go on the usual stuff, put in a regex, and there's a certain string that he uses. And most people could be aware of this, but I did it, and it was really interesting to see, as we would expect with the way things are going in search and the conversational side of it, a lot more detail in the queries. And it's going to give us, like I said in other videos, it's really exciting for me because before we've had, you kind of have to read between the lines in a lot of the data previously because they were one or two words and people searching like that. But now they're going in such detail, you can really find out what people really want within those topics and what they're really kind of worried about or, whatever. I think it's quite an exciting time in that regards.
Yeah, we're actually using that Search Console technique and regex this week and just trying it across like a number of the brands that we work with. Yeah, I mean, it's great because it's using existing free data. It takes seconds to go into Search Console to do that filter. And if you then bring it back to say last 6 months or 12 months, and sort of order by impressions. Yeah, some of the impression counts might be small, but it just, I think, gives an additional point of reference that can inform your content strategy and informational queries. And if you're not appearing or answering for those questions, that can be really powerful for brands for like what they do going forward.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I noticed in one of my client Google Search Consoles as well, like queries with 4 or 5 long lines. Is like, I'm even thinking, is this real? Or like, if it's really like someone wrote that long, prompts or sentence to ask only one thing, or it's like voice search that someone was trying to search by voice, and this we already see also in Google Search Console. It's a bit confusing, but like it's interesting to see also like different data in it, and yeah, like exciting times for sure about seeing like all these things.
Yeah, I just did a video for Uber Suggest, looking at the tool, their new AI features on Uber Suggest. And that's kind of what I said in the video. It's like search volumes and stuff in future. Like, we've always had to take them with a pinch of salt, but now it's even further like that because we know they're going to be, every prompt and every question is going to be so unique that you're not going to get any real volumes on it. It's just about giving you guidance on, you say, Christian, the kind of stuff that they are kind of, because if you're worried about it, the chances are many people are going to be worried about the same thing. They just phrase it in a different way, or put it in a different way. But generally, most people are worried about the same things usually.
Yeah, I often, like now in client meetings when I'm reporting on like say keyword research or estimated or like search volume, I'm always like clear to say, this is just to give us a flavor, or if it's just to help build a picture. I think as time goes on, we've wrestled with this in the industry of like the not set, even in PPC and Google ads, like if you're drilling down to search terms, you don't get the full picture anymore. I just think it's something that we have to just accept in the industry, and clients and brands will have to accept. And for me, I'm very much an advocate of like, I don't necessarily need the full complete picture. I just need enough to make an informed decision. And I think that's what search specialists and brands will have to increasingly align to, just in the way that data now is just, you don't get a full picture.
Yeah. It's also going to have a chance, like even more than ever, to be like the first people to talk about something in a particular topic is going to be super key to become that sort of topical authority and to be the ones when like known for that particular area and content freshness. So you see like sort of, we know it's going to be a big indicator. So you see like opportunities there to freshen up something and add that, all these terms I hope people don't like, but information gain and a way you can add something like that is unique and adds more value to the answer. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. And yeah, thanks both of you for joining me today, and Amanda, who was here previously. And it was another really interesting show. I learned a lot, and hopefully others enjoyed it. So yeah, thanks again.
Cheers, Sean.
Thank you.